Well, welcome along to the 11:30 show that I have here on our private Facebook group. It's Talk Today with JK, and so honoured and privileged to have a special guest here with me today to share with you some of her backstory and what's made it a huge difference in her life. A best-selling author, a person that engages with professional women to empower them to know that they can reframe their past. So looking forward to having my special guest in today. Let me just see if I can bring her in after I introduce her this way. Are you there, René?
I sure am. Hey, Johaan, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for allowing me to interview you today, particularly with your busy schedule. I really do appreciate the time that you've given so that we can share with the audience part of your journey, but more importantly, what you're doing now and how you are empowering so many around, not only here in Australia, but internationally through podcasting, through your messaging, through your Facebook lives that are starting to stream, and you're updating your website presence. You want to retarget things, and amazing that I can get the time to spend with you as a successful businesswoman yourself and have been so instrumental in other people's businesses in the past, and you continue to do so. So welcome along.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Look forward to having you share. That's for real. One thing that I wanted to perhaps highlight to the audience, that I met René how long ago? Probably the beginning of the year, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
And so we got together with a couple of other gentlemen that decided, hey, we need to do something together. We sort of clicked in our messages and take it not only online, digitally, but more importantly, we wanted to get to those live events. And then guess what happened? Everything came to a stop and things changed, but our plan hasn't. And that's still ongoing. Would you like to tell us a bit about that, René?
Yeah, look, I'm so excited. When we all connected and we started talking, the four of us, yourself, Doug, me, and Shane, we straight away, I think within that first half an hour, because you don't really know what it's going to be like. There's a lot of people out there doing similar things, but the moment we got on that first Zoom call and started chatting, we just had this synchronicity, and we all sort of had the same sort of agenda and motive to empower others, right? And all of us were not in that victim mindset. We were very much had been through that journey, and we were like, right, how are we going to empower people practically in every sphere of life? And we all had parts of stories that we knew that we were going to be able to do that together. And we were excited to get started. And then, of course, the C word hit, and COVID sort of delayed those plans. But we're still connected. We talk every week or fortnight, sharing our plans and our excitement to continue to do that and impact the world. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, so am I. I look forward to going to those regional centres, particularly as a foursome, and it'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with.
It will.
So I want to break it down, and we'll get straight into the interview side of things anyway. My first question is, I heard you have the ability to not only engage, but help people to check their identity, but also to rebuild it. Can you tell me a bit about your backstory, though?
Yeah, sure.
And the audience.
So my upbringing up until around the age of 10 was quite normal. Grew up in a small country town, riding horses, playing outside, and everything seemed quite normal. And then at around the age 10, our family went through a massive trauma and was basically split down the centre. Now, what that did for my home, my father left the home and my mum was left to raise 5 girls. And she didn't do that well, unfortunately. She developed a drinking problem and would leave us at home on the weekends, and then started bringing men home And unfortunately, those men started to abuse me physically, emotionally, and sexually. And that cycle of trauma and abuse carried on my entire childhood. My mother just got worse and worse. She was no longer emotionally available to me. My sisters were quite older than me. They moved out, and it was just me and mum left at home to deal with the aftermath of this. And unfortunately, she just didn't deal with it well, Johaan. She didn't protect me, and I didn't say anything. I was terrified to speak up, so I carried that secret throughout my whole life. I moved out, but of course we know that cycle of trauma continues, and I entered into domestic violence relationships. I developed a drug and alcohol addiction and just had very, very unhealthy ways of coping with my life, which was not to cope, to just mask it. And everything basically just went down that rabbit hole. And unfortunately, up until the age of 26, when I had my daughter, that was my entire life. But the moment that I had my baby girl, everything changed. I was determined to not allow her to have the life that I had, and started making some very drastic changes. And it was a long road. It was a very, very long road, but this is why I'm here today. This is why I share my story, to let other people know your past doesn't determine your future. It doesn't matter what you've been through. You can rise up, carry on, and start over.
Wow. Really appreciate you sharing that with our audience today. And it sort of leads us into that question of, so you've got the ability then, you've learned in dealing and coping with your situation and how it's pulled you through. And now you can identify and help others, and you've shown that ability. Can you, share a little background on that?
Yeah, sure. So what I realized, Johaan, is when I started going through my healing journey, I fell into, it's funny how doors open at the right time, fell into working in a rehab centre for young women. And these young women had histories like quite similar to my own. And I started sharing a little bit of my story and my journey and the hard days and the good days and the things that I was doing. And I could see the girls start to lean in and be really fascinated and want to know more about that. And that's when I realized the power of storytelling, the power of being vulnerable, the power of sharing the not so great stuff, the unhighlight reel that we don't see on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that was when I started seeing that I had a story that could help other people. And I just started sharing little piece by piece in safe environments. And that's when I realized I had a real knack for knowing what was between the lines. So that's why I'm able to help people so quickly that have been through trauma. And you would know this yourself, because there's a lot of, the power is in what is unsaid. So I'll have clients come to me and they'll share a bit about my story, about their story, and I'll be able to read between the lines. And that's a great relief for people. They feel like they have to share everything, and that will hold people back because they're afraid of doing that. I'm able to read between the lines because I've been there. I know that shame. I know that fear of being vulnerable with others. So I'm able to elicit very quick breakthroughs from my clients and the people that I work with.
Awesome, René. That sort of helps to qualify you as an expert, because you've been there, you've done that, and you've seen that your message can be received by others on a genuine and authentic level. Is there a principle perhaps that you could teach our audience that they could relate to and immediately apply when it comes to your story and how we can use those tools?
Yeah, definitely. One of the biggest issues that I faced and that I experienced with a lot of people, men and women that talk to me, is this feeling of we have to put this mask on to be accepted, to be good enough. And that may be in the workplace, or it may even be in their home. And for me, I had this mask because I was terrified of anybody judging me based on what I had been through, because I hadn't quite dealt with it yet. And I developed imposter syndrome and very much perfectionism. So I felt like I had to work twice as hard as anybody else, that I had to be there earlier, work later, be better. And every time I received an accolade or an achievement, I didn't know how to cope with that, and I would push it away. So one of the principles and one of the tools that I help my people understand, and something that anybody listening now could put into practice straight away, if this is something you experience and struggle with, I have what's called a fact and a fiction inventory. So anytime I had a negative mindset about myself, that you don't deserve this, you're not good enough, you're stupid, you're unworthy, I would look at what I was achieving in life. I had a high-paying job. I had a lot of responsibility. My family were healthy. I was doing well. My clients at work were having great outcomes. So I would write those things down. And anytime a negative thought jumped into my mind, I would say, is this fact or fiction? And I would look at those things I was writing down, and I would go, well, it's not reality, René, because you're still doing well at work. You're being promoted. Your children are doing great. And then I would have to go, right, that thought no longer applies to my life, and I will not accept it. And I would replace it with that positive affirmation or thing that I had just achieved. And we need to get in the habit of doing things. It's not good enough to just say, oh no, that's not true. We have to replace it with a positive so that we have something to take up the space that that negative thought once did.
Love that, fact versus fiction. Fantastic. Good little pointer. The next question, I suppose, a few recent success stories would be great to share.
A few recent success stories. So one of the most, I guess, I got really excited about this success story because I ran an intimacy masterclass. And this was a little bit taboo when I launched it because people were like, ooh, abuse and intimacy. How do these two things go together? Well, intimacy is not the three-letter word we instantly associate it with, which is sex, right? Intimacy is being close with someone by letting somebody in, letting them get to know who you truly are, having that closeness and that trust. And a lot of people that have been abused and hurt are fearful of intimacy. I definitely was. So I ran a masterclass and I had these women join up, and the success story, to cut a long story short, was the husband emailed me, the husband of this woman. Now, she adored her husband. She had 3 children, but she really struggled to be vulnerable. She got very uncomfortable and a lot of anxiety around any type of intimacy. And she just couldn't get out of the mindset from when she was abused. And through the program, when we got to the end, her husband emailed me and said, René, I would pay you 5 times as much as what we did. We are now having intimate conversations. She's free, she's happy. And he was happy because he could see that she was happy. So the burden was off not only her shoulders, but his. And she had been trying to get over these issues for 10 years. 10 years of carrying that around. So I was so excited. Every time she'd show up on lives her whole face was different. She was excited, you know, and just that tiny little thing of being able to be intimate with the man she loved the most in the world, that I was so excited about that one.
That's powerful, René. It really is. And to have the husband on side, even better.
Winning.
So where can we learn more about you?
I have a website, Johaan, so reneemichelle.com, very simple. And I also have a Facebook page called From Victim to Victory. So that's where I share the majority of my resources, which are all free on there. There's so many videos, there's so many teachings. I've had that page now for over 2 years. So there is so much value in that page. If anybody, and it doesn't have to be that you've been through abuse, any type of adversity, challenge or trial that has tested you, anybody will be able to, and let's face it, at the moment, that's everybody. There's a lot of value in that page. So people can just access that. It's not a private group, so they can just head to that page and they can just bring up all the videos and knock themselves out and find anything. Everything's titled in there. So the website or the From Victim to Victory page would be the best. I've also got my book on there as well if they wanted to know more about my story.
Excellent. So that's the ethical bribe that I'm going to be using right now. Saying thank you to those that have attended. And the gift that René has just spoken about is an ebook that she's compiled together for us. And look, I'll let you tell us about it.
It's called The Road for Resilience. So it's very much practical. I'm all about practical tools, like you said at the outset, that people can use straight away. And it is about rebuilding your identity, reframing your past, and rewriting your story. We get so stuck in the stories in our head that don't serve us, that are not, like I said, reality. So this really teaches us to rebuild that from the ground up, incorporating that fact versus fiction process and rewriting your story so that you become the hero in your own story.
So there it is. That's the book cover, or part of it anyway, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy the read. I certainly was fascinated from the information, learned a lot within that ebook. You can have it delivered to you instantaneously once you've logged in, or you can message me or get in contact with René for that free gift. Certainly do appreciate you spending some time with us. I think I've gone over the 15 minutes, René, but that's okay. I'm sure the audience will forgive me by a couple
I'm a woman.
minutes.
You should have known it was going to take longer.
Oh, nice. So once again, thank you so much for allowing us to, talk and speak together.
So welcome.
To know that someone that's gone through such a traumatic past can turn their whole life upside down, but bring it back again into balance and press forward, move ahead, and then show others how it can be done for those who want to listen and learn and understand. So, René, with that, I'd like to bid you good day. I know that you're busy too. And thank you once again for being with us.
You're so welcome. Thanks, Johaan.
So, wasn't that fantastic? Loved the interview. Certainly appreciated René sharing with us. And there's so much to learn from these short podcasts, audio casts, video casts, whatever you want to call them. But I get a lot of pleasure from sharing the messages that others have. What's helped them become resilient? Where's their mind at? How can we help you to have that positivity in life? That's me. I'm out. Let's talk with JK today. Have a great one, and I'll just take you out with this.